I would like to talk about this thing called integrity. Now, the word integrity comes from the word integral. When we talk about integral, we're asking whether something is whole and complete. Think of it as an atom. There's a fixed structure. There's certain forces of attraction that holds the body together. So what happens when something is not whole? You start having this thing called holes. And the holes is where things starts leaking out, energy starts leaking out. Perhaps that explains why people feel tired, people feel exhausted. One of the clearest ways to fix an energetic issue is to really inquire a person at a deeper level. Where in their life, do they have holes? What are the holes in their life that needs to be fixed or patched? Perhaps you are out of alignment or out of integrity with your personal self. How many times you say yes when it's a no? How many times you say no when it's a yes? Because these situations push you into a pendulum where you can't decide is it forward or backward, forward or backward or forward. The holes in your life, while energy comes out, it also means it creates opening for invasive energy to come through. What does it mean to be integrity with yourself? Are you doing what you say you're going to do? Are you living your dreams that once upon a time you told yourself that you're going to do? Not necessarily announcing to the whole world that you're going to do it, but things that you tell yourself mentally, do you fulfill them? What are the agreements you keep within yourself? Whether it's a physical agreement, emotional agreement, mental agreement, or spiritual agreement. Okay? And what are the agreements in your life that you have broken? Because the broken agreements in your life create the holes, and it makes the hole get bigger and bigger over time. Now, we assume that once we break an agreement, the hole assumes its position. But we learn in entropy in physics that decay and decomposition happens over time. Our body, as age goes by, it starts degrading physically. Even though mentally we can work on ourselves to sharpen it, emotionally we can sharpen it. Things are breaking down, which means that the holes in your life will only get bigger and bigger and bigger over time if you don't do anything about it. It is silly to assume that it remains static, which means over time, if you don't fix your issue is going to get bigger and bigger over time. Therefore, from a first principle, solve the broken agreements in your life. What was the broken agreements that you did not fulfill with your parents? What was the unfulfilled agreements you didn't make with yourself? You didn't fulfill with yourself? What is the unfulfilled agreements that you make to God, divine, source, or to spirit that you did not fulfill? Because this really allows you to examine where your life force is leaking towards. Because if you're not in the present moment now, living your best life, it probably means that you're still stuck in the past. Your energy is still going back to the past. And one of the ways to find the holes in your life is to look at this thing called your limiting belief. Because the limiting belief in your life has a lot of energy itself, which means that the energy must have come through you to be channeled somewhere. There must be a pathway. So by following the pathway, working backwards from a limiting belief, it will be able to help us find the origin cause to your trauma or problems or challenges or issues. So where in your life do you need to uphold more integrity in? Where in your life do you need to be more whole? What is the emptiness that you feel in your daily life? Because that gives you a clue of the holes in your life. And with some inner work, you'll be able to trace back to the origin cause. It is always important to solve an issue at a very fundamental level. Think of it this way, there's a building that was constructed unconsciously. If we want to deconstruct and dismantle a building, what do? We dismantle it at the root level, at the first level where we hit the beams and the columns to cause the whole building to collapse. Most of the time, the things that we think we're solving is merely the symptoms, the effects of what we experience, because we lack the awareness to actually go deeper into ourselves to examine the root cause. So awareness is not a given. It has to be built over time. So rather than putting yourself down, giving yourself permission not to do something, it's about giving yourself that permission to find all ways to make it happen simply because it matters to you. Whatever that matters to you will materialize into matter. So stop putting your dreams out there. Stop making yourself a priority. Start fixing the holes in your life so that you can become whole. Because that's the best way to uphold your integrity. Integrity doesn't just mean honest. Integrity simply means what makes you whole. And if you continue to breach your value system, it creates more holes in your life, which means you're going to feel even more unfulfilled in your daily life. So do something while you can, while you're still alive.
Earlier on, you spoke about the holes.
Yeah.
When you create holes, energy leaks out. At the same time, it also invites invasive energy to you. So, what kind of invasive stuff are meant to come in?
Entities, possessions, thought forms, negativity. Some people are very susceptible to negativity simply because this hole itself is attracting that conversation, because they have that conversation inside of them. So like attract like. So you will look for things to fill you up in order to feel whole, because if you're not whole, you are not fulfilled. The word fulfilled comes from fulfilled. Man needs to be fully filled. If you're not fully filled, you're going to start chasing after things like Porsche, like your LV bags, to make you whole. You don't need any of that. All you need to do is to address the root cause of how you became the person you are today. What created those holes? Fill the hole with the right stuff. Perhaps it's about making peace with your relationship with your mom or even with your dad. Perhaps it's about fulfilling that childhood dream that you never get to complete, that you gave up. Perhaps it's about making peace with a teacher who made you wrong while you were learning piano, and as a result of that, you gave up your dream. Perhaps it's about forgiving the people who hurt you once upon a time, such that you can't get into a new relationship even though 7 years have passed. What makes you fulfilled? What makes you whole? What makes you complete? Change is constant. Agree? We're always changing. What happened to people who resist change? Then they spend a lot of energy in their life, trying to resist train, even though the river is moving them in a certain direction. They're resisting. So they spend all their energy in their life resisting moving forward, keeping the past, holding on to past attachments. But you see, even if they successfully stop moving, we know in physics there's this thing called entropy, where entropy is always going downwards, which means that our body is always going backwards. So even if a person is not moving, they are constantly moving backwards. They're decaying. They are being destroyed every second. And science has really proven that once you hit 42 years old, your age of the cell's regeneration itself is going to be lesser than the cell's destruction. Which means it's harder for people to heal, or they heal less effectively as compared to a child. We learned that. So the game of the whole thing about personal mastery itself is for us to keep moving forward and keep moving forward in alignment with the Tao, the river of Tao. And we keep moving and moving and running and running and running until we reach a point where the speed of how we run is equivalent to the speed of how the world moves. And once we reach that state and we get so familiarized with that state, it doesn't feel like running at all, because it feels like you are in the center of the whole universe, because you're moving at the same speed, you're orbiting at the same speed. Perhaps this answers the key to all manifestations. The whole point is to develop yourself inside out to its highest light, to its full mastery, so that you reach a state where you no longer need to chase after anything, but things just happen instantaneously. And perhaps that's the secrets of manifestation that they don't tell you in books.